The cane is not hard without my visual. I tore a meniscus.
Oh.
For my final speech from the Competent Communicator, I thought I would talk about a word that has multi-definitions to me. And it's a word that I use a lot, and a word that inspires me. And this word is called perspective. And by Merrill-Webster's definition, perspective is the triangles in geometry. And as we all know, triangles have 3 sides and 3 corners. Just like Toastmasters, perspective is the holy trinity of my words in my world. And in the context that I'm speaking about perspective, it's about how you see things based on your experiences and what you see. And to give examples of perspective, I brought my out-of-the-box thinking. And we have a glass. And boy, this is really tough to do with a cane. So if I were to illustrate this glass of water, I could say the glass is half full, or I could say it's half empty. Now, conjure thinking, I could say that the glass is either half full, nor is it half empty. It's just simply liquid water in a glass. And I can easily change the outcome if I were to drink some of this, which I needed. And I can also change the outcome by adding more water to that. So what's interesting about this sort of conceptual thinking is that it allows me to think about how to solve problems for clients and for businesses, how to find solutions, and how to gain awareness in daily issues. Fascinating that the word perspective oftentimes is based on preconceived thinking from our past. We misjudge based on experiences that we've had. And what we tend to do is project from that past experience where things are at the present, and then project what's going to happen in the future. And so what I'd like to share with you today is how I gained this sort of awareness of perspective. And in doing so, I'd like to take you back to a college travel study in 1984 when I went to India to study sustainability. India was a wide-angle lens for me. Technicolor, panoramic, it had amazing colors, kind of opened up my mind and my way of thinking. And what I saw was a lot of wonder, ancient beauty, and yet what I saw all around me were lives that were shattered. Within the first 4 hours of arriving there, we went to the hotel, and I remember stepping over a body of a man who had just died. And it was myself and the 14 others that I was traveling with who were disturbed by this. Everybody else kind of assumed that this was part of daily life. And about 5 weeks later, I remember a street beggar coming up to me. And all she had was a piece of black plastic to cover herself. And I was stunned, speechless, and then she died, curled at my feet. And I remember having this outpouring of emotions, not knowing what to do, feeling of helplessness, guilt, and at the same time, just feeling very awkward, not knowing what that response should be. And what I saw around me was indifference. People shrugging their shoulders, shaking their heads, stepping over. And what I started to realize was this was a part of daily life in India. This was a part of how things were. And I started to realize all the young girls and little boys that I saw on the street begging, that their chance of survival would be days, and mine was going to be years. And I had emptied out my pockets of all the coins I had to give them within the first few days. So later in that same travel, we went to Mother Teresa's. And what I got to witness at Mother Teresa's was what happens after death. It's the orphans who get left behind. And we took a tour of Mother Teresa's, and I remember the nun standing talking to us, and these little children reaching out, grabbing and crying and cheering and thinking, well, they're here to take us, to adopt us. And I remember the tears just kind of streaming down our cheeks and not knowing what to say. And the nun said, give them your smile, show them you care, and give them your dignity. And it was at that point in time that I had this warm, kind of glowing effect. And I said, there it is. It's humanity. And later in the trip, we went to the Burning Ghats in Varanasi. It's the ancient city where the Hindus do open cremations. And our touring professor said, you need to spend 2 hours alone to observe, and then we're going to regroup and talk about this. So for 2 hours, I observed the burning bodies, the stench of death, decay. I remember hearing the mourning, the cries, the grief, and I remember the guy splitting the wood. And it was at that point in time I started to realize maybe the world is a much more complex place than what I have experienced. Maybe I have lived a sheltered life. So what I'd like to talk about in conclusion here today is perspective. And is it about the glass of water being half full or half empty? Or is it just about us gaining a perspective or insight? What's going to inspire us to take it to the next level? What teaches and pushes us to go further? In the last 18 months of being here at Toastmasters, I've had the opportunity to sharpen my speaking skills, but also really hone in on my listening skills. In the last 5 months, I've got to do 2 obituaries for loved ones, friends that have passed away. And what I've really learned from that is how to listen to the words of others. If you're a new member at Toastmasters and you're weighing in on whether this group is worth the investment, what I can share with you from my perspective, there we go, and from where I stand, crippled, it is worth the investment. And I hope that I inspire all of you to become better communicators and listeners. Thank you.